Hello everyone, I'm Jacob Gluck, and I would like to talk to you about Race to the Top. So, Race to the Top, also known as RTTT, is a $4.5 billion U.S. DOE, that is Department of Education, program that was enacted by Congress in 2009. It is part of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, and it provides up to that amount to the states for improving education. It is competitive, meaning that there is only a specific amount that is allocated for this program, and whoever qualifies and applies first receives the grant, and if you don't qualify, or if you're not first enough to qualify or to apply, then you don't get it. Okay? So it is competitive. So what I want to discuss in this video is the stipulations of this program. What does it ask the states to do? What are the qualifications for this program? And what my opinion on this is, what elements of it are good and what elements are bad. Just to clarify, I am a middle school teacher. I'm a 6th grade teacher, and I am quite educated and analytical, and so I know these issues both empirically and analytically. Okay? I both experience them myself, and I also look at the data and I analyze it. So let's see what we have on this. Okay, so the way the program works is that the different elements are allocated certain points. So, for example, if the school can demonstrate, I should say the state, if the state can demonstrate that it has great teachers and great principals, and the teachers and principals are evaluated based on performance, okay, meaning that they are given a better salary if they can prove that they are performing better, then that's a plus. The federal government awards states points if they can prove these qualities. So, what is my opinion on this? Performance-based evaluation. I approve of it. I think it is good. Now, from personal experience, I can tell you that performance-based evaluation are sometimes not as accurate as they are held out to be, for the reason that, how should I put this? Okay, it's a community. Okay, when you go into education, when you become a teacher, most of the teachers are encouraged to stay there for many years, and I can have a whole separate talk about this, like how the system incentivizes long-term career, which was possibly not a good thing, by the way. But anyway, most of the teachers are there for a long time. They know each other. It's a community, and they're very sympathetic towards each other, and they will never betray each other. I mean, they're all working together, including the principals. Okay, it's actually a misconception sometimes to think that the district and the school is possibly against the teachers, and the unions always want you to think that way, but that's actually not true. The school, and including the principals, they have a very close relationship with the teachers, and even if they are not always perhaps capable of acting in their best interest, you know, in action, they know them well, and they want them to succeed, and they want them to do well, and they don't want to point out defects. Okay? So again, if you're a principal and you have a teacher that is underperforming, it's not in your best interest as a teacher to confront them about it. And that is a serious problem, because that is essentially what the program is designed to address, right? When we talk about performance-based evaluation, what it means is that a principal should be able to look at a teacher based on their observation, based on the data, based on whatever, and say, this teacher is not good. So we need to remediate them, we need to give them professional training, and if that doesn't work, we need to fire them, right? That's the intent of this program, and that's not really happening, okay? So that's an important thing to note. And this is a very good example of how programs have excellent intent, but then when it comes to implementing them, they don't achieve their objective. They just don't. And this is not just the only one. There are many programs like this, which on paper theoretically it looks terrific, and then when it comes to implementing it, for some reason all these brains behind it, they are incapable of predicting how the distortions will result when you come to implement them. Okay, so that's the first thing that I should caution, is that the camaraderie, the goodwill that exists within the school environment sometimes prevents the administrators from giving the kind of evaluations that ultimately result in in teachers being severely disciplined and fired. Okay, it just doesn't happen. Now, conversely, and this is also a problem which I've heard many teachers in my school talk about, conversely, if you are truly an exceptionally good teacher, again, you're not going to get an exceptional evaluation for the same reason. Because, I mean, the obvious thing is everyone else is going to be jealous, right? If you give an evaluation of highly effective, which is a highly coveted status, then people are going to find out, others in the school are going to find out, they're going to ask, why did I not get it, okay? So there's pressure, there's downward pressure on teachers not receiving a high grade. And the other obvious reasons for not giving a high grade, and this is an open secret in our educational community, is that the school district will have to shell out more money, because a performance-based evaluation, by definition, what it means is we're evaluating you based on your performance, and what we really mean to say here is that you're going to get pay based on that. And so if you're going to get more money based on higher performance, then there's an inherent conflict of interest here. On the one hand, you want to have teachers who are highly performing, but on the other hand, if you're a school district, if you're acting on behalf of the school district, do you really want to obligate the school district to pay this teacher more, especially if you know that the teacher will stay anyway? Okay. So, or if you can get an equivalent teacher or whatever. So you can fill this position anyway, and you can get away with it for less money, so why should you keep this teacher? So, so there's downward pressure on paying less for highly performing teachers, and there's upward pressure for paying more for low-performing teachers. So essentially, this kind of mitigates and diminishes the effectiveness of this program. So yes, maybe there is to some extent, this is effective. I mean, what I would say is that if there was no evaluation based on performance at all, then yes, I would agree that a performance-based evaluation is better than nothing. But the way it is implemented is often distorted. Let's just say that, and just keep you aware of that. Okay, the next thing is standards and assessments. Let me discuss that. What the federal government wanted the states to do is to develop common standards. Now, it doesn't have to be the Common Core with a capital C and a capital C. The Common Core is a very famous set of standards that were developed by I think that is called the National Governors Association, or something like that. It's basically governors from different states coming together and developing a core of studies, which essentially means math and reading/writing. And let's just have a common set of standards of what we expect our students to achieve in these fields. Okay? And the idea behind this is that if the expectation is a certain level for one state, why should it not be for another state? Right? Common sense, right? It's not, a person born in North Carolina isn't inherently any different from a person born in South Dakota or any other state. So if we can determine that one state should have a set of standards, then shouldn't all the other states have the same set of standards? So again, these are the kind of things that look wonderful. They look absolutely fantastic on paper. When it comes to implementing them, it's not as clear. The problem here is as follows. In many instances in life, it is okay for the government or for a central authority to put out a recommendation, to put out an advisory, and telling you this is what we have determined based on our research, that this is the best practice, and this is what we advise you to do. It is a whole other thing to say you must do it, or to provide a very distinct financial incentive for the person to do so, which is more or less tantamount to saying you must do it. I mean, in terms of a financial-driven universe that we live in nowadays. So whenever the federal government says that you're going to get money only if you do so, only if you adhere to those standards, then that's a step above simply saying, this is what we suggest based on our research. Okay? And the problem here is that states may, for whatever reason, may determine that they are an exception to the rule. And legitimately so. Okay, there might be very legitimate reason for them to say that we should deviate from those standards that apply to everyone else, but for whatever reason in our district or in our state it doesn't apply, or we need to not implement it as rigorously. We should make exceptions to the rule. And the states cannot do so because it has been determined that this is best practice overall for everyone. And this is the biggest problem with common standards. Whenever you're dealing with common standards, meaning you're centralizing it and then you're disseminating this position, this protocol that everyone should adhere to, it seems extremely terrific on paper, but in reality, there's always going to be some people for whom this doesn't apply. And it doesn't necessarily mean because they are underperforming and they cannot reach that standard. Very often it's just the opposite. It's that often these standards are designed to pull up the lowest performing sectors of society, right? And while the people who are overperforming, the ones who are significantly above average, they are being pulled down. So you're not allowing states to offer an even better curriculum or an even better standards and better assessments because they have to abide by these common standards. So overall, I am not a fan of this. I don't believe in flattening the field. I believe that we should allow individuals, and this is, by the way, a very general philosophy in life. I think that people should be allowed to stand out, for better or for worse. We shouldn't try to flatten it, because we cannot do one without the other. You can't just say we're pulling everyone up, but we're not pulling the top 10% down, okay? If you're going to pull up the bottom 10%, you're also going to pull down the top 10%. And so you have to keep that in mind. That's almost inevitably going to be the case. And so yes, you have to be realistic about what your standards are. You have to be realistic and be cognizant that for some states it's just not suitable. It doesn't help them. Now, it might help them as something to take into account, but to force them to implement it under the pain of losing federal funding to the tune of, in my state, $700 million. That is a significant amount. I mean, nobody is going to, that's not chump change. Nobody's going to dismiss that offhand. I mean, this is money that people want, that the states want, and the schools want, and the districts want. And so this is serious business. And so this is why, when it comes to standards and assessments, I'm very conflicted about this. I cannot really honestly say that this is a good thing about the race to the top of RTTT. I think it would have been wonderful if this was simply advisory, but given that the states must demonstrate that they're adopting a common core and they're adopting rigorous assessments that are aligned with those standards, it's just not. I don't think that's helpful, you know. So I'm against that. Since I've been talking for 13 minutes, and you might have noticed that I'm slightly tipsy, as you can tell, there is a drink right here, and I'm going to have a drink before I adjourn. So since I'm slightly tipsy, I don't know if this makes the speech better or worse, but whichever it is, enjoy. Leave some comments. I know this glare on the glasses is annoying, right? Isn't it? Okay. Unfortunately, I was having this monologue here while reading from the screen, so you have to forgive me. But until next time, have a good night. Enjoy. And happy Veterans Day. It is November 10th today. Tomorrow is November 11th, 2015, and it honors the veterans who have fought for this country, which is a patriotic thing to do, and they should be acclaimed and applauded for that. Thank you for watching. Enjoy.